everyone, I am Brittany the Cosmic Lunar Soul. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to all my subscribers. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video for me. I'm going to be doing the Goodreads Choice Awards finalist predictions. This is a collab with Robin's Reflections and Scarlet Moon Creations. So I will put their channels in the description and links to their videos. And we have divided up the 15 categories. I will be doing fantasy, sci-fi, horror, audiobook, and YA fantasy sci-fi. Sorry, I know that's hard to read. So I have all the books here. I picked out different decks for each one. Let's just go ahead and get into it. For the first section here, for fantasy, I'm going to be using the Game of Thrones Tarot. I'm just going to pull one card for each book, let you know what card goes to what book, and yeah, we'll make our prediction. So I'm going to go ahead, put all the cards out, and I will be right back. All right, so here is everything. So it's in order here. We have the Wheel of Fortune for the Alchemy of Secrets. We have the Four of Coins for Raven Scholar. We have the Nine of Wands for Watermoon. We have the Queen of Wands for Strength of a Few. We have the Two of Swords for the Sirens, Judgment for the Devils, Four of Wands for Brian Sanderson's Wind and Truth, King of Cups for the Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab. We have the King of Coins for Catabasis, and then finally we have the Six of Cups for The River Has Roots. I feel like this is a clear top two. Put your predictions in the chat and let me know what your thoughts are. So if I'm going to, I'll quickly go through each card and then I will highlight my top two. So Wheel of Fortune to me shows me that the Alchemy of Secrets is very favored. It probably went through a bit of a cycle when it was released versus now being voted on. So but ultimately looked upon fairly favorably amongst the community. We have the Four of Coins. I feel like this is a little stale in terms of energy. It probably made a good footing in terms of its release, or its impact to the community, but it kind of plateaued, or it sort of settled out, so to speak. The Nine of Wands for Watermoon, I think that this was divisive. It kind of had a really hot and heavy release and really made its rounds on social media, but then kind of had to fight an uphill battle against everything else. The Queen of Wands for Strength of a Few kind of makes it feel like the opposite of this, where it not opposite, I'll say, but it had a really quick impact and has really made a place for itself in terms of uh the popularity in the community. Two of Swords for the Sirens. I feel like this one never really made a true impact, maybe a little divisive in terms of some people loved it, some people hated it. Judgment here, I think the Devils, so Judgment is for the Devils. It would have been really funny if we pulled the Devil for that. But I think that the Judgment, there's just a little bit of a balance here. Um it got out it got back the votes, or will get back the votes um that will reflect its tenure over the year. I think that it's pretty middle of the ground. Then we have middle of the road. Oh my god. Then we have the Four of Wands for the Wind of Truth. This card is all about celebration within the community and celebrating those ties, and a lot of movement and activity around that. The King of Cups for bury our bones in the midnight soil. Kind of like the Queen here, has made an impact in the community more so like emotionally than like with the wands, where it's like a lot of energy, a lot of people talking, a lot of like buzz going on. This one is more so like it was hard hitting for people, and memorable in that they were emotionally connected to it, but I don't think it's going to have the drive to get it over the finish line as one of the like as the finalists. And then we have the King of Coins for Catabasis. So, where this one I feel like was emotionally impactful, I think with the King of Coins, this might sit with people a little longer and might be something people reference over time. And I think that this is a sign that is going to build up in popularity over time. So, um, not that it had a bad mm, debut by any means, just that I think that it's going to actually build up more over time than some of the others had like more of a hard and fast impact. Then we have the Six of Cups here with the River Has Roots. I think this one has a lot of like this book has created a lot of nostalgia in the community. A lot of people have connected to it in that kind of way, but it still feels very middle of the pack. So if I had to pick my top two, I'm gonna go with the Alchemy of Secrets here, and then Brian Sanderson's Wind of Truth. Now, I have to say, like, when I initially started flipping cards, obviously I flipped this one first and was getting about halfway. I was like, oh, this one feels like a very clear winner. But to me, I'm going to go with Brian Sanderson with this Four of Wands. This card is all about celebration, where the Wheel of Fortune is talking about being fortunate. I think it's hinting more so at being more of a top runner than maybe the community as a whole would have expected, or maybe the author themselves would have expected. Um, Whereas this one, I think this is more celebrated. I think just in general across the community, there's a lot with the wands, a lot of energy and buzz and movement and discussion that's happening still. And overall, the Four of Wands, like I said, is about that community celebration. So I really feel like Brian Sanderson's Wind of Truth is going to be pulling it out in the finish line. Comment below what you guys think. If you've done your own predictions, let me know as well. And let's go on to the next category. So the next category is sci-fi. So of course I am pulling out the Eldridge Overload deck. I mean, this is my most sci-fi-iest deck that I have. Put your predictions in the chat. Let me know what books you think. Let me get this all shuffled and the cards pulled out, and I'll be right back. All right, here is the spread for sci-fi. We have Three of Cups for Death of the Author. We have the Ace of Wands for the Poppy Fields. We have the Knight of Coins for the Book of Lost Hours. We have the Ten of Wands for Of Monsters and Mainframes. We have the Three of Coins for When the Moon Hits Your Eye, the High Priestess for the Compound, 10 of Potions for Shroud, Two of Wands for Automatic Noodle, 10 of Swords for the Dream Hotel, and Five of Cups for I Think We've Met Here Before. So let me think about what we got. In the meantime, put your predictions in the comments and let me know your thoughts. So with the Three of Cups, I feel like this one is a very interesting pull. I'll go through the description and I'll talk about it after. So Three of Cups, I think that the death of the author is going to be really, really celebrated a lot more than probably expected. Hence the Three of Cups, and it's just overall, um, I think that uh, it's showing up in this choice awards, and how it does in the choice awards is overall going to be celebrated. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to pull through the final legs. We have the Ace of Wands, which initially I thought was very good. I tend to associate aces with success and victory. Not that I don't in this case, but there are a few other factors we'll talk about as I go along. I think that this more so indicates for the poppy fields that this is like just the start. This is just the kickoff for how much the poppy fields is going to be really celebrated and represented in the book community. I think that it's going to inspire a lot of other things within the community, inspire a lot of feedback and just stuff like that. But I don't know that it's because it's still just like a spark of things. I don't know that it's enough to pull through in the votes. Knight of Coins. Knights are generally, like the sign of ambition and like movement and reaching for one's goals. But the Knight of Coins is more slow and steady. I think that this is going to be a really good um jumping stone for the Book of Lost Hours, where like showing up in this choice awards is really going to make it popular within the community and give it like a lot of longevity in that sense, but I don't think it's necessarily going to pull through with the votes. We have the 10 of Wands. This is not the only 10. We have one, two, three of the four tens here. Um, and I think they all kind of represent different things. But I think the three tens are what really represent the finalists here, but the outcome is based off of the specific 10. So the 10 of Wands feels like, for of monsters and mainframes, like this feels like very much underdog energy where nobody really thought the of monsters and mainframes would um really make a splash in these awards, and instead it's like picking up much more momentum, picking it up. It really has, like I said, that underdog story, but I don't think it's gonna pull it out necessarily at the end. You'll have to let me know your guys' opinion of that. The Wands is very much about carrying burdens through to the end, and in finishing and closing out that chapter, being able to drop the load and finally breathe. But that doesn't necessarily indicate that you're finishing first, just that you're finishing strong for where you originally expected. Then we have the 3 of Coins. We have some more threes here with, so 3 of Coins for when the moon hits your eye. 3 of Coins to me tells me that the when the moon hits your eye is really about wanting to use this as a foundation to build off of and become more of a long-standing book in the community. I don't think that it's about winning, not with this. The High Priestess, this is the only major arcana card actually, which kind of gave me pause for a bit, but this is more so about following one's intuition and just there's a little bit of like magic and trust that's going on. I don't really see it as something that is as direct as some other of the major arcana and not as direct as some of the other cards in my opinion. So I don't think that this is necessarily for the compound going to pull it through to the first place podium here. We're now entering our second of the tens here. This is the 10 of Potions for Shroud. 10 of Potions, 10 of Cups is that like happy ending card. This is the card of like family unit and just emotional fulfillment. And this feels very much more like where this was closing out a chapter after a long, hard, arduous run. This feels more like you have reached a very blissful ending to a journey. This feels like it's podium worthy. We have our 2 of Wands with Automatic Noodle. Again, the twos, that duality of like will they, won't they kind of thing. I don't think that there's enough going on. I think the votes are going to be very polarizing for this one. People either love this book or hated this book, and I think the votes are going to reflect that. The Dream Hotel got the 10 of Swords. This is our third 10 here, and similar to the 10 of wands, I think that the 10 of swords is a little bit of the underdog, but it's also so more so like I think maybe this book might have been a little too trippy for people, and therefore like the 10 of swords is almost like shooting itself in their own back kind of thing. Um which is reflected in the votes. And then we have the 5 of cups. I think this one's very clear not going to happen with I think we've met here before. 5 of cups, not as well received as the other books in the category in the book community. There were folks that enjoyed it. Obviously, it made it here, but in the grand scheme of comparison, I don't think that this is in the running. I think we have a clear winner after talking, and I think it might be Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Um, I think with this 10 of cups here, it's very indicative of like a happy ending. So I think that this is going to be pulling out the first place spot for the Sci-Fi Choice Awards. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, I'm going to go on to the next category. All right, we are now going to be doing the predictions for horror. So, of course, I have to pull out my Dark Reflections Tarot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Give me your initial predictions, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the cards, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the 10 of Cups for Hungerstone. We have 6 of Swords for the Bewitching. We have the 6 of Pentacles for the Lamb. We have the 2 of Wands for We Love You Bunny. We have the Ace of Cups for Play Nice. The 10 of Pentacles for Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. 7 of Swords for the Possession of Alba Diaz. The Knight of Swords for Bat Eater, and other names for Laura Zhang, Cora Zhang. We have Shadow, which is a specialty card in this deck for Buffalo Hunter, and then finally King of Cups for Stephen King's Never Flinch. So again, put your predictions in the chat. Let me go through my initial assessment here. I kind of see some top runners already. Let's talk about it. So for Hungerstone, we have the 10 of Cups. Again, this is very much like finishing a long journey and feeling very emotionally fulfilled from it. This is a really good sign that I feel like this is podium worthy in terms of this book. Oh, and I'm sorry for the glare, y'all, but it's okay. Um, so for the 10 of Cups, you know, tens are about closing a chapter, ending a chapter, finishing goal, reaching an achievement. So I do feel like the Hunger Stone is on the podium for that. The only thing that kind of gives me a little pause with this is we have another 10 here that might counteract it, and a king here that might counteract it. So we have the 6 of Swords, the Bewitching. um, I think that this book required a lot of like letting go of people, and I think that very few people were able to do that. So I don't think that this book is going to um really, you know, top the podiums here. I don't think it's reaching any top 3. We have the 6 of Pentacles. This is about being generous. I think this is just a sign that it's going to do better than initially thought, but not that it's going to make any noise in the voting realm. The 2 of Wands, again, very much a duality of decisions here, neither here nor there. Needing to like the community's kind of like wishy-washy about it. Ace of Cups. I mentioned previously that I tend to associate aces with success and victory and winning, but because this is about finishing a specific goal, I think that this is more so like just the start of Play Nice. This is just the beginning. This is the first steps. I think that this is just a sign that people emotionally are very attached to it, and it will start to get legs down the road. The Ten of Pentacles, this is our other 10 here for Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. This is another card of like happy chapters closing. I feel like this might lean more so on doing well in the voting that leads to financial success. So it may or may not necessarily mean that it's going to hit first podium, but uh, let me think on it some more. Seven of Swords for the possession of Alba Diaz. Um, I think with the Seven of Swords, this is a very clear indicator that this isn't going to necessarily do as well. I think that it's actually going to have a little bit of a disappointing run from, the perspective of people that actually enjoyed this book. The Knight of Swords, um, Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. Um, the Knight of Swords is good because, like I said, knights are able to push towards their goals. They are very decisive and there's a lot of energy, which signifies a lot of buzz around it. I just don't think the knight has what it takes as a court card to really get cross that extra leg there. Shadow is interesting. So for Buffalo Hunter, Shadow, I think this card means it is a representative of one's shadow self and uh, needing to uncover pieces of itself. So I just think that this book is not necessarily popular enough to get the votes that it needs. And I think that there's a reflection that needs to happen on in regards to the readers of this book that might be a little too polarizing for some. Finally, we have the King of Cups for Stephen King's Never Flinch. So the King of Cups is the opposite of what I felt with the Ace of Cups, where there's still this air of victory, but the King has made it to the end, is solidified his place in the genre, in the voting. I feel like this is very representative of um Stephen King in the horror genre. It's no surprise, right? That Stephen King, I think, is considered one of the, like, I don't want to say fathers of horror, but whatever that word is, very much a face of horror, so to speak, not to mean like his actual face. So if I were to pick my tops, I would say my top three would be the Hunger Stone, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, and then Stephen King's Never Flinch. It's a toss up to me. I feel like I'm leaning between Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and Stephen King's Never Flinch. But this king here is very settled. Seems like, he's in his domain and is not going to be dethroned in any time. So I'm actually gonna go with Never Flinch. But I think that the Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and Hungerstone are going to give Stephen King a run for his money. All right, let's go on to the next genre. Okay, so for audiobooks, I'm going to be using the This Might Hurt Tarot. I didn't know what to pick for this. Let me know what you guys think of this pick. It's just sort of a generic, like, tried and true favorite that I have, so I went with it. So, as always, put your thoughts in the description. I'm going to get these cards all shuffled, and I'll be right back. Okay, we have the Three of Cups in the same position as, like, a few categories ago. It's so funny. For the Great Big Beautiful Life, we have the Seven of Pentacles for the Let Them Theory, Page of Cups for Onyx Storm, Eight of Swords for Atmosphere, the Lovers for Taurus Season, The Moon for Broken Country, Strength for Pride and Prejudice, Ace of Wands for Harry Potter, Eight of Wands for Alchemize, and Six of Swords for Frederick Backman, my friends. So let's talk about it. Three of Cups for the Great Big Beautiful Life. I think people are going to really be celebrating this, but it's going to be celebrated the fact that it has shown up in the choice awards. I think it's going to be celebrated in a small faction of the book community. So I don't think it's going to have enough um to pull it through. Um, the Seven of Pentacles for the lesson theory. This one is interesting because I do think that there is a little bit of hard work in terms of getting the name out there and getting this book out there for the community. And there's this essence of reaping the rewards of all of that hard work. So I'm kind of considering this one. We have the Page of Cups for Onyx Storm. Um, it's funny, this page, we've been getting a lot of courts, a lot of knights and kings. This is the first page I believe that we've pulled, and I think the Page of Cups is like young and adventurous, and specifically, idealistic, and just want to explore things emotionally, and wanting needing to grow emotionally. So I don't think that this has enough. I don't think this page is mature enough to pull it through to the end, but it has a really great following. A good, I feel like this is a sign of like lifelongers, I guess, where people are just going to love this audiobook, the Onyx Storm audiobook, once they get their ears on it. And I think that it's just a sign that it's going to be something that people go back to from time to time. The Eight of Swords here for atmosphere. I simply don't think that this is going to do well. It might do a little bit better than it thought, but the Eight of Swords is like a trap of one's own doing. So I just don't think that this one is gonna make it. Taurus season. So at first glance with the lovers here, I kind of thought like, oh, this one might be it. This might be the card, or the book rather. But the lovers is still a duality. It's still is so that still makes me feel like, you know, this might be more of a you either love it or hate it kind of book. So I think in being so split, it it's not going to be able to pull the votes out. The Moon, the Broken Country. Um So with the moon, usually there's a little left unsaid when it comes to the moon. It shines light on some things, but not everything. So I wonder if this book left people feeling like a little wanting, and that not enough people are aware of it. But because it's a major arcana, I do think that it is still like a really great book. Obviously made it to this list. Um, but again, with the moon, I don't think it's placing. We have the strength card for Pride and Prejudice. I do think this might be a placement here. I'm kind of seeing three, and we'll talk about it at the end. The strength card is about inner fortitude. Pride and Prejudice has been around for five ever. It's I don't want to say a cult classic. It feels weird to call this a cult classic. I don't know why it does, but it does. But it's very favored. It's already had, just as a regular book, as a movie, as this, that, and the third, already has an amazing following. So this could just be a sign of like going into grace with its already built up strength. Sorry, I have a cat on my lap now, guys. Then we have the Ace of Wands for Harry Potter. So before, I've been saying aces in general have been feeling too much like beginnings, but Harry Potter is by no means a new staple. It's not something unheard of in the book community. This is truly like a foundational book for some people. So I think the Ace of Wands in this aspect really drives home the medium in which the book is being consumed, which is the audiobook aspect of it. So I feel like this is like more so like a sign of saying like, oh, Harry Potter is already a successful book, and now it's just showing that it's also successful as an audiobook. So it gives me slightly different feelings versus the prior aces that I've gotten. Also, it being the wands, there's a lot of energy around it, a lot of buzz behind it. So this one is another one that I think might be hitting a podium. We have the Eight of Wands, Alchemized. Eight of Wands feels a little too chaotic for Alchemized to hit podium. It has a lot of great buzz around it. It has let me back up. It has a lot of buzz around it. But Alchemized, I feel like, has a lot of every kind of buzz around it. People are kind of like, you know, riding the fence on whether they liked it or not. I think that there are just too many other things that would take a precedence over it for this to pull over the finish line here. And then we have the Six of Swords for this last book, Frederick Beckman. Um, Again, with that Six of Swords, it feels very non-committal. About, it kind of feels very much like getting left in the dust in the aspect of everything else. So I wonder if it just simply doesn't do as well as some of the other books, even though it was maybe expected to do a little bit better. So let's recap. My top three, I think, are going to be the Let Them Theory, Pride and Prejudice, and Harry Potter. I think that Pride and Prejudice, I'm gonna knock that out of the running. I did think that one. I was sort of waffling on that, but I think with the idea of persevering through the votes and versus the Ace of Wands and conquering a new medium, so to speak, will overcome this strength card. Um, I'm gonna give it to. Oh, this is so close. This is so close, guys. Okay, let me know in the comments over the Seven of Pentacles for the Let Them Theory versus the Ace of Wands for the Harry Potter audiobook. Which one do you think is going to come out on top? I think I'm gonna go with Harry Potter. Um, Partially because of tarot, partially because of the power and history behind the books, and just that it's already an insanely popular um series. It's just now conquering the audiobook world versus the ebook or physical book world. So I'm going to give first place for audiobooks to Harry Potter. All right, going into our final category. Be right back. Our final category is going to be YA fantasy and sci-fi. I had to pull out my Everyday Witch Tarot for this one. So finishing strong with this category. I'm going to get this all shuffled and cards pulled. Let me know what your initial assessment is for these books. Whew, this one is going to be a hard one, y'all. So, we have the Judgment for Watch Me, Seven of Swords for Wings of Starlight, the Hierophant for Heavenly Tyrant, the World for Rose Bargain, the Emperor for Fearless, the Ace of Swords for Sunrise on the Reaping, King of Wands for Oathbound, Justice for Rebel Witch, Death for Hazelthorn, and then the Sun for our infinite fates. So we have some tops, some very clear tops to me. Honestly, I feel like half of these are tops. but some are like higher tops than others. So I'll just go through them like I have been. For Judgment and Watch Me, I think that this honestly has a great running in terms of the votes and um how well it is received during these choice awards. I don't think that it is going to top some of the others that I see here. But Judgment is the awakening. It's very clear in the path that it is. So I feel like this means that Watch Me does well in the sense like it gets to the people that need to know about it, and they are able to then go forth and read it. Seven of Swords, the magic of Starlight. I simply don't think that this is going to do as well as maybe people were hoping it would comparatively, especially with the people that truly enjoyed this book. Seven of Swords is a little deceptive, I think. So I kind of take this as its run is deceptive in terms of like the popularity it has been deceptive, and it just doesn't match with the votes that it receives. The Hierophant for Heavenly Tyrant. This feels very middle of the road for me. The Hierophant, there's like this air of tradition. I think that this follows some sort of middling, averaging kind of path here. The world for Rose Bargain, though, is the ultimate achievement. I think that this is fairly indicative of achieving a lot and, setting forth, going down a path, and as the final card of the major arcana coming out full picture and rounded and just everything makes sense and you can start to close that chapter of things. And that's very podium worthy in my opinion. We have the Emperor for Fearless. Um so the Emperor is not a bad card. And I think that if there were not fewer hard hitting cards, I would probably say the Emperor is in the top here. But I don't think that it's going to pull out in the end. It just mm, maybe Fearless has like enough footing to be an authority in its own right, and it kind of performs as expected, but I don't think that means that it's going to blow things out of the water. Sunrise on the Reaping is the Ace of Swords. Again, aces are very positive cards, sign of success, but I think that Sunrise on the Reaping is just getting started in a sort of sense. Um, this is a high card for me. Sunrise on the Reaping is getting a movie soon. A lot of advertisements are happening, so I wonder if that is going to help propel some of this. And like I said with Harry Potter, having the Ace of Wands because it's venturing into a new format, so is Sunrise on the Reaping. It just hasn't done it yet, but it's advertising that it's doing it. So I wonder if that's influencing it. I just have to sit with that a bit. King of Wands for Oathbound, great card here, another top. Um a lot of buzz, a lot of like authority in their own domain. Um but the King of Wands, especially if you look here, there's like a sign of wanting to conquer other domains, and I just don't know that it has what it takes necessarily. But I do think that this is definitely one of the top contenders. We have Justice with Rebel Witch. This feels too balanced. I don't think that it's going to tip the scales of justice. Very middle of the pack here. Death for Hazelthorn. This almost feels like a wild card pick, that it kind of showed up in this category as like a bit of an outlier, and it's going to reflect so in the voting. The Sun card, of course, another top contender for our Infinite Fates. The Sun card is very happy. The Sun card is very happy, nurturing. It's about growth and just really and ultimately very fulfilling card. So to reflect, it looks like we have four. We have the Rose Bargain with the World, we have Sunrise Reaping with the Ace, we have Oathbound with the King, and then our Infinite Fates with the Sun. Now, while I think those are our four tops, I think these two, Sunrise and the Reaping and Oathbound, are like lower tops. I don't think they're going to beat out the World and the Sun. The World card, whew, this one's a toughie. Another toughie. Um, I think I'm gonna go with. Actually, before I say what I'm gonna go with, put in your final predictions in the chat, okay? And let me know then after I give mine how it matches up. So I think I'm gonna go with the World here with the Rose Bargain. Like I mentioned, this is the ultimate card of achievement in tarot. This is about really going down a journey, taking all the lumps, all the successes, and ultimately reaching those goals. And I think that this is a sign that this is going to pull it out at the last leg for a first placement. And I wonder if our Infinite Fate is just going to be a very, very, very close second. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Alrighty, guys, all my predictions are in. Let me know in the comments what yours are. Don't forget to vote. Voting ends on November 30th. Winners are going to be announced on December 4th. So I guess you can come back and let me know how I did. So predictions aside, let me know what you're rooting for in the comments. I didn't want to say mine out loud because I didn't want to taint the video, but I am so curious what you guys think. If you voted, also let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. This was a fun collab. Make sure you go and check out the other videos. Like this video, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.